What's up, guys? Welcome to the Jewish Podcast, another day, and today we're talking about synchronicity. Um, and we're gonna get some people in here, but first, we want to talk about what is synchronicity. What the is this Jungian? And when you listen to me, you're listening to the simplified version because we don't have time. We don't have time to read paragraphs and essays, bro. That's what I do for you guys. And then I take your money. A synchronicity, in a nutshell, will be something as close to maybe I'd say 0%, because it can't be 0%, almost 0% probability. Like, let's say you're thinking of Bob. And that moment, after many, many years, you haven't talked to Bob in 10 years, that moment that you think about him, Bob calls you. And you don't answer the call right away because you're too busy gazing at the green and red buttons. You're too busy looking at his name and going, after 10 years, I thought about this dude. And he decided to call this exact second. What are the chances of that? And you look at the probability and you look at the chances, and it's damn near 0.009% according to ChatGPT. It's non existent. And that's not a mystic's take. Oh, Jung was a mystic. That's a scientific take. That they did a bunch of studies, scientific studies, to calculate and crack down on these probabilities. And they were so low that it freaks you out how meaningful that phone call actually becomes once you look into this stuff. And what's crazy is it also comes with a wave of emotion and energy, a different type of thing completely. You didn't feel that for the rest of your day. You didn't have anything like that. Nothing was that meaningful. And if you look at the probabilities of him calling you throughout the day, it's very low. But after 10 years, do you know how low that shit is? And so long as you're not looking for these moments, because these moments will look for you for sure, um, you can definitely use them as your compass around this fucking universe. You can definitely find. Well, I like to call it. These are gas stations, man. Right? They just fill us up with so much energy that we get to keep going. And that gaze, that 10-second gaze, you look at your phone like, wow, he's actually calling after 10 years. I haven't thought of this guy. That gaze is that gaze, the gaze of eternity, that you're feeling a moment of eternity. And unlike what you've been told, eternity has never felt long. It's never felt played out or even scary. It's always felt familiar. It's always felt warm. And we're taught so much bullshit with this concept of time. Everything is fear mongering to put you in a fearful state so you can't manifest around their manifestations, what the ruling class wants. And you got to really ask yourself, like, does the royal family, the ones who are in charge, does the top Zio, Talmudic, these guys and whatever, were they trained to use their brains in a different way? Or are they just like us and they play Fortnite every day? Yeah, I'm sure they're just like you, bro. I'm sure they play Fortnite. Or do they spend 12 hours a day in right thought? And man, some of these are the most simple antidotes to your life, like stay around the right people. I wonder why everyone tells you to stay around the right people. Because staying around the wrong people always spirals to, you might think it's a couple hours of your time. And actually, no, it's like 5 to 7 years. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's big. These are energy vampires, my dude. And we can't blame our homies because we're choosing to chill with them, you know? We don't have to green button that call. We could just red button it. But the more time you spend thinking about how the elites use their brains, use their center of consciousness, the more stupid you feel and the more pathetic you feel that, wow, I went my whole life letting Fortnite give me an emotional charge and up and down. Then my friends with their weed in the back seat with an emotional charge there, and everything's just taking from your magnet. And then what's left? Can you really go home and focus on your dreams? Not really, because Bob told you some weird negative. Actually, Bob's a pedophile. Okay? If your friends are not successful, they're all pedophiles. If they're too successful, then they're, well, I got news for you. They're also elite pedophiles, right? But what I'm trying to say to you is, if you believed 1% of what I said about your magnet, your emotions, bringing you a better world before you go to bed, if you believe 1% of what I talk about, why do you still answer their calls? And I get messages saying, Zherka, it's kind of lonely the way you live. You're like social 2 months of the year. I make more money than you. Maybe I'm doing it correct. Well, Zherka, I could just follow a social guy who did this and that. And hold on, hold on. If I gave you the loadout of some trend out cokehead bouncer, bar fighting, getting fired, and then fighting somewhere else and doing stupid shit my whole life with probably the worst fucking loadout. When I think of, people love to talk about genetics and yo, Zherka, you kind of got it good, and not really. I got the most mangled, tied up brain. It took me a long time to untie this motherfucker. And I'll say this, man, I don't really think, people are like, man, you gave such great life changing advice on these MS Paint streams when you were 28 and blah blah, blah. And they popped off now, and I'm like, yeah, the reason I don't like talking about that stuff for any old content that, I get that it's like immensely popular, especially with my OGs, but I don't like talking about that stuff because I've never felt like a true mastery where I can actually charge someone from my knowledge. I've never felt a true mastery until I hit 30 years old, man. And I know it sounds crazy, but this year, as hectic as it been, for a mindset, I feel so genius, dude. I feel so, and I'm having one of these days where, we're having a sales peak where I get to flex on you guys and look at this, guys, I've done it again. And Sneako's like, come to Bosnia. And I just show him my numbers. I show him the stuff and the behind the scenes. And he's like, well, you can do that from here. And I'm like, my dude, there is no influencer banned off every platform getting paid like me. No sponsors, no donations, no streaming service, nothing, just my website. And I'm just breathing, dude. But let me tell you this. I used to be a very angry man. And I would have my Twitch and my streaming services. And I would do 12 hours a day. And for some reason, money was not coming in. And I'll tell you this. I have a theory that all those months and all those years that a man works and doesn't get paid, he does get it back in spades. Or maybe you get it right. I'm getting it right now. And all those hours do eventually get paid through qualitative time and different events of your life. But I'll tell you this, man. Cut out the external triggers, dude. Like, if you have an app that puts you in a bad mood, cut it the fuck out. I've got some of my guys who I have one guy who's making $7,000 extra a month, and he wasn't even scared. He gave me my props and stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, what you teach works. I want more. I want this." And I'm like, "How come you're not scared?" Like, I got guys who actually get a little worried in the face that they discovered some hidden energy, and oh my God, how come you're not afraid? And how come my top guys, the top earners that make the most money, how come none of them are afraid when my protocol works for them? Because it's kind of offensive. It's like they're telling me, what are they telling me? They're just like, yo, just give me more, Zherka. Shouldn't you be bowing at my feet and saying, holy, you're tripling my net worth? Doing nothing. I did nothing different. I just changed this thinking process and this 3 times a week. And I'm thinking to myself, like, why my top guys never have that shocked face, that shocking face I made and a bunch of people made years and years ago when we discovered this stuff, or a bunch of you guys discovered this before me. Let's be real about that. Um, why the top guys, the top earners, are never surprised when this stuff works for them? Any law of attraction stuff, when they're not surprised when it works for them, I'll tell you why. Is because I think they're the more intelligent guys, right? It is not like a sales thing. I'm just telling you guys, I think they're just more intelligent. And I think intelligent people, when something works for them, they don't spend time having an emotional up and down. They just want to go to the next level. And they really deep down thought that they already knew this. They already knew that this would work. They just needed a bit of guidance and stuff like that. But the guys I have who are shocked and holy Zherka, this month I'm making more, and everything you taught me is great, and they scare the out of me because I'm like, dude, if you're making it a fiesta, you're being a Zherka, bro. You're being my flaws. You don't want my flaws. I have huge flaws. You don't. If you listen to my content, if I've changed your life for the better, chances are you have my flaws. That you can be stuck in that sense of wonder and wow, and oh, it's working. The law of attraction, bro. Now, here's the problem: is that sense of explosion. Oh my God, it's working. Why that stuff is so bad for you is one, it's an emotional swing, right? It's burning too much energy of your day. You're just not realizing it. But two, the most important part is what you're doing is you're clawing on and holding on for dear life for the reality you just woke up to. So this guy's like at 7,000. He did it great. He's not that emotionally charged, none of that. But I have other guys, and let's say he made 1,500, 2,000 more, whatever. And I'll just say lower intelligence cats, right? And these guys scare me because when your eyes dilate and you get stoked that you woke up in a better life, you're finally past that sticking point, that artist block, that whatever, that creative block, that money block, whatever it was. The problem with your eyes dilating and you getting stoked for your new world is you're actually clinging on to that world. So a good example of this, I love to use women because it etches into all of our hearts as young men. Have you ever had a girlfriend and everything's going great with her? She loves you. You're a magnet to her, her friends, her family. Everything about you is magnet. And your life's easy and you're just a winning Chad. Wow, that's awesome. Then you wake up and realize how awesome it is, that it's never been more awesome, and you compare it and I'm at a new peak. This is that qualitative time horizon that Zherka talks about where it all hits and it's all starting to make sense for at least 1 week of my life. Now everything's going great. Wow. What comes first is fear. The fear that you don't hold on to this, or something even worse, joy takes over. Now, the fear of not holding on to this, I never go in depth about that because that's only a snake oil salesman will tell you how to eradicate that fear. I don't think that fear goes away, bro. Like your life gets better and you start to guard it. You start to, holy shit, I got to keep it going like this. That fear is, I've tried everything with my guys, with me, and that's here to stay. With top players, Yeah, you can manage it, deal with it, but don't pretend that you can eviscerate that. And I think that means it's healthy if you can't get rid of that. I don't think anything with too much push, right? Trying to eradicate something is going to bounce back and hurt you more. So I really don't like a lot of the law of assumption guys, the Reddits, they go back and forth debating, the law of assumption works so well, but what about this? That you guys are literally autistic, just hyperfixating on the wrong, something that none of them are talking about, or, well, they are, but not, it should be for the law of assumptions and the law of attraction guys, the Dana White energies, right? You guys have to focus on the nightmare situation. And the nightmare situation, let's say your life's going great, money, girlfriend, all that. You love the bitch and all that. It's been a couple of months and you feel like, oh, this is love, but it's a love of state, your new lifestyle. The big fear that no one really gets into is you love it so much that you're complacent. It doesn't mean your energy is complacent. You might still work hard and all that. But in the quantum field, in the matrix, whatever you want to call it, in this web, you signal that you've hit perfection. And there's something about the world that when your girlfriend is great and your life's going great, there's something that happens to every man where you psychically just agree with God and everything in the matrix. You agree that life can stop here. It's perfect. And as soon as you do that, you might consciously do it, you might unconsciously, like the rest of us, but you always know. As soon as you do that, that bitch is going to leave you and everything's going to start going wrong. For a lot of guys, it's not really career, it's always the woman thing. I've noticed in the data I've collected personally, my anecdotes, it's more about women than career. Like my guys are good at the money part, but the women part is like some of you chads are fucking up bad. And you're doing everything right, but there's this thing that happens in the matrix, man. As soon as, and remember what I'm a year from now, you're gonna contact me, be like, "This was life changing, Zherka." As soon as you're holding on to anything earthly with the energy of time can freeze here, my life's perfect, everything starts going wrong for you. As soon as you interrupt psychic evolution, that as soon every day you have to evolve for better or for worse, it doesn't matter, but that wheel has to turn for some reason, right? As soon as your life is perfect, you psychically hold on to it and the whole matrix rips it from your hands. And the saddest part of this is that most young men only held on to it because they didn't want to be greedy. They only held on to it because they said, hey, man, I'm done with the blessings. My life's great. The law of assumption, the law of attraction, I've mastered it. We can stop here. I don't need any more blessings. Just leave me with this salary and this girlfriend. Life can't get better. I might get the bitch pregnant. And a lot of us in our hearts, we're not even bad guys. We do that as a way of saying, here, I want to stop here. I want to get off the dragon of time here. And it's the biggest evil you can do to yourself. And there's a million people DMing me right now saying, holy that happened to me. It's not that mystical, bro. It's happened to everyone. Have you ever heard of those quotes? You don't know what you've got till it's gone. What you've got, as in you've got something, you captured it. Bro, let go. If life's going good, let it go. Don't hold on to it. That's the only way you can keep gliding. And even that throws you side quests, but I'm telling you, the nightmare situation that I'm convinced there's 26-year-olds who figured this out. I'm convinced you don't have to be 30 to know this shit. And I'm like, that's so Zherka though, when life's going good. My first 2 years after my first prayer, I wouldn't pray asking for shit because I thought I was greedy. But that's even more greedy is you're holding on to your world. For some reason, that's the worst thing you can do to yourself, and nobody can explain why everything goes wrong when you agree that everything can't get better. Because you agreed everything cannot get better, therefore it can only get worse. It cannot get better. And it has to get better, dude. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, January, February, March, up until now, 2024, I've been doing great. I have not been holding on for dear life. I don't get too excited. I don't have emotional charges. Nico, I'll see you when I see you, bro. I don't have that thing anymore where it's like, yo, we gotta do this now. Sneeko wants to do this now and da da da. Bro, that's how horrific shit happens to you. That's how horrific happens to you. I'm convinced you didn't even do, some of you guys didn't even do anything wrong. She just left you because you with the quantum field. You told that the matrix, you told that energy, this blessings from God, these eternal blessings that keep pouring our way. The worst thing you can do is stop the blessings and put your hand up and say, I'm really good right now. And you're like, but dude, I don't want to be like these greedy guys who just endless blessings and keep going. And but you have to be. You have to be like, they're not greedy, dude. It's you can have everything you want, bro. I'm not saying you're getting it, but that's the mindset. You have to keep it open. Are you saying God's blessings are limited? Get out of here with that weak shit, right? And I'm thinking to myself, like, you get a new toy as a child. You love the toy, right? It's like a Sonic the Hedgehog toy. Then something strange happens when you attach to the toy. And you build this attachment that, for some reason, there's a ripple effect where you can feel something bad's coming to you and this toy. You might, as a kid, compare this toy to something else, right? You might want a Shadow the Hedgehog toy. But it loses its impact on you. And that's the same with the girlfriends and the jobs and the clout and the money. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what would be the perfect advice to give to someone? A young man who his life is going perfect. Now, the only thing that could go wrong is him noticing it went perfect, because that's when it goes south, right? It might take a few weeks, right? Maybe even a month or two. If you're lucky, 6, but no more than that. Everything goes wrong after that. And it's because you're putting it out there that things cannot get better. When if you look at, you're on Earth for 100 years, let's say, it has to get better, right? It has to get better. And even moving the time along is getting better. Nothing, it doesn't have to be eventful, right? I always found that the biggest slap I'd ever get from God, like when I was a young man, and I'd be, you know how we as young men, we'd have like grievances with God. We wouldn't say it, but everyone has their angers with the lack of blessings they're getting or whatever, or comparing to other people and friends and whatever. I remember my biggest grievance always being like, how come I can't have a few weeks of that Zherka? That Zherka's so happy. As soon as I cling on to that, I love that Zherka. That Zherka with that girl, with that job. As soon as I cling on to that, it gets pulled from me in a romantic way where it's all, when I say romantic, I mean like the angels up in heaven are watching and going like, what the this guy's dreams are being pulled from his hands, and it's so unfair. But when I've done the research, and I've done so much of this kind of research on qualitative time, on synchronicity, on all this stuff, probabilities, all that, and I come down to the conclusion of, holy shit, dude, it's not just me. They just can't put it into words. No YouTuber can put it into words. But I get like so many DMs every time I open this topic. And I'm like, this is what all these mystics talked about, is do not be of this world, even in the Bible, right? it's like you hold on to stuff that's earthly, and for some reason it gets pulled from you, and everyone is convinced that the mystics are saying just be a monk, just you don't need, you just be wrapped in sheets like nuns, they're wrapped in sheets. And no, they're saying you can have your blessings, don't get attached to them. Right? Now there's some of us who are like initiated and have to go further, and maybe they can be wrapped in sheets, but for most people on earth who live just a regular life, 9 to 5, all they have to do is not get attached to that 9 to 5, and then bigger opportunities will come to crash them out of that life into something better. And you see this with MMA fighters too, where they win a belt and they hold on to that state of who they are as a champion. And for some reason, it's bad. They have to be an evolved champion. They can't hold on to that year's championship, or else horrific shit happens to them in their career. And the more you looked into athletes and stuff like this, I'll say like Tom Brady. He's a bad example because his wife's a satanic, but I would say he seems like the type who his energy doesn't really cling on to the material world. He can just take blessings on and just, oh yeah, just a straight white guy. I'm straight white guy. I'm straight white. He's not straight, but he's got this energy of there's more coming. Oh yeah, whatever. But when I look at the average human, every time we have it good in our lives, we have this psychic red stop sign in our head that says, okay, enough good things. This is great, because we have this instinct to think that good things are going to knock us out of whatever the heaven we just entered. That life can't get better. Don't even shuffle the cards, bro. I want to stay here. Every time you with time, the dragon of time, and you do that, you get punished badly. And that's why I say at this, I've never felt more intelligent in my life, because these are the most blessings I've ever had. And we're talking about me being debilitated, banned off every streaming and da 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 da. And I'm still number one of this. Who else could say ban any of these streamers off their platforms? See how much they wouldn't get a nickel from grandmother. You understand me? And I'm like, there has to be a lesson here. This this Zherka's the best he's ever done in his life. And he's debilitated. Imagine when I'm back on my streaming services and blah, blah, blah. And well, it's not like I even use them when I'm on band, but you hear what I'm saying? That my biggest issue for years would be I can't get banned. They're going to cut my paycheck. And now I'm on the opposite side of the scale. And the only thing that shifted was my attention. And when you see attention as a day to day thing, you start to realize, wait a minute. Okay, let's say this week you made 100,000. Okay. Now you could go party with your friends and some and really hold on to that. And you really want to celebrate, because what is celebration anyway? What is this drinking and smoking and all this? What are you really doing? It's a ritual of trying to get time to stop. You're trying to slow it down. We all know what you're trying to do. But if you just keep taking steps forward, almost like these Bill Gates types, right? That these satanic Bill Gates, that, he's not a role model, but you can just see in his eyes that when he fucks with the Matrix on his 28, on his pig, when he walks forward and makes billions, he goes, yeah, I think I'll just make some more. Whereas a lot of us would pause at billions and say, holy pinch me, I'm dreaming. I got to hold on to this reality. And as soon as you try and hold on to it, it's like you're inviting the agents from the Matrix to come rip it out of your hand. And man, I wish I knew this at 21, 22. That I wish I knew that let's call it like a stoic monk energy of things going right. Yeah, things are going right. More things are going to go right. But when things go right for the average Zoomer, their first thought is, oh my God, dude, John, it can't get better. It can't, and it's so sad when I talk to you guys on calls and you have that chuckle. You're 23 years old, 24, and you have this chuckle of like, dude, Zherka, last time I talked to you on call, and now I'm making $7,000 more. And you have this chuckle, and you look in my face like, whoa, Zherka's not happy. Like, why is he not? Why doesn't he be like the guy who? I'm gonna post this call with one of them. It's like a great call, but I didn't. I could have been more critical on this. That I really, really want to hammer this home, guys. It's terrifying to get that chuckle. You should be traumatized when you're that happy. It's a very bad thing because we as humans, for some reason, we don't just stay happy. We start to play weird games with our unconscious operating self. We start to do things ritualistically to signal to the quantum field that we don't want to play the game anymore. We're happy here. We're making great money here. We got here, and then it comes back and fucks us up. And I see right now I got a bunch of DMs saying, "Holy, you're spitting, you're this." Listen, man. What are the techniques of getting used to winning? Because I don't think anyone's ever shown us these techniques. You can see a lot of spoiled kids and a lot of these kind of bratty types, a lot of these narcissist personalities, they win a lot more in life, man. I still remember when I wouldn't put a donation button in my first weeks of streaming because I said, I'm going to have it anyway. I'm going to have all the money and I'm going to. But imagine if I did put a little donation button day one and I scrambled and scrambled for like money and donos, and then what state would I be? I'd be in my welfare state. And people don't understand that a good state might last you a day. A bad state might last you a week. Yeah, and it's contagious. It's hurting your friends and family. It's lowering their degrees too, right? It's putting them in a worse state. So, yeah, it's a virus. Negativity is a virus. And no one ever talks about, I've never seen a podcast talk about how the most negative thing you could be is positive. Because you might be so positive of the materials you have on earth right now that your blessings stop right there. And when blessings stop, you don't just freeze. Because, bro, a lot of us would have loved to freeze. Like, oh, 21, have my girlfriend, have a good job, whatever, having a blast. We'll stop here. You know, a lot of guys are not like the conqueror mindset. Most guys would love, if I'm convinced 99% of the public would freeze if they could, right? That, oh, life can't get better. Let's just call it here. And that's the most dangerous thing you can do. Because you're really saying, I don't want to play ball. I don't want no more curveballs from the universe, bro. I don't want any more curveballs. And it's like, oh, you don't want to play the game now that you got your little wins? Oh, really? You think you're going to just go to sleep in that? Oh, ho, 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 ho. Let's take away all that and then you can have curveballs. Let's take away your paradise first and then we'll start throwing curveballs because you have to play. And that machine, this is baseball, and that machine, it doesn't stop. But John, what if I'm depressed? Bro, this matrix, this system doesn't give a that machine keeps going. The baseballs are cracking, you're bleeding, and that machine is still going. You're winning in life, that machine's still going. The only time that curveball machine ever takes breaks and slows down is when you're winning nonchalant. You know, you kick a ball into a net, don't celebrate too much. Don't make it a ritual. You're making it a ritual that you never can do that. That it's a surprise party. Oh, surprise, I made a goal. You're making a ritual that it's rare that you make goals like that. No, you shrug your shoulders and you go, I can do this all day. I can do this all day because when you say I can, you actually just did, Nick. In that state, you can. And the state is going to be fleeting. It doesn't matter. Even when you master this, it fleets. It flies away. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. And then it comes back like the N word. It calls you the hard R. But you're that Nick. You don't do hard R. And I guess where I'm going with this is, for years I've been doing these kind of calls and giving my 2 cents on all this stuff. But I've never done this call. I've never talked about how, in depth at least, I've never talked about in depth how everything, your heaven will get taken from you, bro. Your heaven will get, as soon as your heaven becomes earthly and material, even human material, right? It'll get taken from you, right? Heaven got to be within, but as soon as you're grabbing onto it without, in this external, and we do this unconsciously, bro, bad things come your way, right? And what's worse than your heaven taken from you? And how many times has it been taken from you? Let me tell you something, dude. There's no worse feeling. There's no worse feeling than when you live you're living a modest life. You're not winning too hard. You're not even on people's radar. You're just doing good for yourself and your girlfriend. And she's happy and you're happy, and it seems like people at the grocery store and everywhere you go, they're just not as happy as you guys, but you guys are contagious. People want to be around you guys, and you go, damn, that's what life's all about. And you feel great that you're humble and that you're happy with this existence where nobody knows who the fuck you are. You're not even making that good money. You're just making enough to be smiling 24/7, which you've never experienced before. And other people can notice and they want to be around you. And you're like, holy shit, I feel bad for these billionaires. Last 2 weeks, I've had a ball. I wouldn't trade that for anything, my nigga. I wouldn't trade that for, even now, knowing what I know now. If I linger in that feeling, if I try and really go there in my head, I'm telling you, bro, you don't need billions, you don't need millions, you just need that state, that energy you're in, that magnet. And you think being humble keeps that magnet. No, man, evolving keeps that magnet. For some reason, it doesn't debilitate, it doesn't weaken when you keep evolving at all. It just, and people are like, well, is it like a faith component that you just have faith in God and then the blessings keep coming in and you don't really make anything ritualistic or anything, to tap into this kind of, yeah, dude, I'll tell you this, man. I can't explain how or why, and I don't think anyone who says they can is, but I'll tell you this, man. You have to evolve. That's all it is, bro. And seed turns into a apple tree, right? That it had that potentiality there, and that if it doesn't grow, it dies. The calf becomes a cow, the Charmander becomes a Charizard. I'm saying this, man. There's gonna come lots of failures for you young men. A lot of failures are gonna come knock you guys upside the head, and you guys are gonna look for advice. You guys are gonna look for leaders on the internet who got their shit together. And the colorful ones are going to stand out and stuff, and they're going to talk about getting up when you've lost, but that's not the danger, dude. It's staying up when you've won. That's the real tricky part. And all you have to do is not cling to it, right? Sounds simple. It's tough. Like, I do want to make a ritualistic celebration of, I told you so. I told you I'm on my next money. I told you. I really want to say that right now, but more is coming my way. So I'm just going to chill, right? I want to take my good news and my bad news and all that and throw it in the pile of evolution. Because I got to jump in that pile. I got to evolve. And the interesting thing is, this state of you winning, this angel wing state, the interesting part of all this is that, have you noticed you can't really own the state? You tap into it, but if you're not doing the right things for yourself, and it's always about the self for some reason, I know, sounds crazy, but God wants you to look after yourself a lot more than you've been taught. A lot more. I mean, it really comes down to that stupid meme of adjust your mask before you do a passenger's. My dude, you have to take care of yourself so well that it's almost like other people don't exist for you to have the aura to magnetically bring them your way to help them. For example, your parents could be in debt and you wouldn't know because you are not a winner. But if you were a selfish winner, if you were taking care of yourself, they would tell you and you would be able to help them because they want help from a winner, not a loser. But my parents are, yeah, they're all taught wrong. We're all taught by mainstream media, and I'm telling you this, guys, if there's ever a time to not give a yeah, it's important with losses, but it's really, really a lot more important with your wins. When you guys are getting through your big wins, Zherka, I'm making 7,000 more a month, and after I talk to you and blah blah blah, bro, you're making a little too much celebration out of this, and I don't like that. Right? That's not you. That's the loser you that's surprised you did that. Okay? And we look at the hours you've clocked in before you even started this job. Dude, every hour counts. Even the hours you're depressed off work is work. You're going to get paid for all that. So don't make it a big hoopla. Okay? Don't make getting a girlfriend a big hoopla. A lot of you guys are scaring me with the date IQ stuff. Okay? It's not really something you should celebrate at all. Okay, she's gonna pick up on your energy. Like we pick up on these. 97% is nonverbal. That's communication. It's just energies. We pick up on energies. Stop revealing to the world that you're desperate. Like you're celebrating way too much. That goofy smile you have is way too large. You're smiling like you'll never get paid this much again. That's what you're smiling like, and it's horrific if you're actually in the law of assumption communities and the law of attraction. If you're on your Dana White, the top guys don't give a bro. Dana grins at making millions. He doesn't go sit in a room and laugh his ass off because he knows that's ritualistic. He knows what's happening if he dwells into that too much, right? Anyways, we're gonna bring some people on. But that's my spiel for today. And just a reminder that I'm up. I'm not just up, I'm up as always. And which is good because I felt kind of negative when, Chatter said it best when I was flexing in the internal server. I think we said on God Pill with Sneeko too. I said, this Chatter said Zherka went and spent $70,000 in USA and just to be called the pedophile. And I'm like, damn, I spent a lot, but really I stay in the winning state. Yeah, I get the nice caviar. I don't give a, what was it, like 8 weeks there? But yeah, that's just nothing, bro. That's just nothing. But I'll tell you this, guys, please don't make any ritualistic scheduling around your wins. Just win and evolve. That's all you got to do is win, evolve, and move forward. Okay, let's get some new guys in this.
What's up, Zherka?
Yeah.
What's up, guys?
Yeah, stay on topic, guys.
So you want a good topic, bro? Today I wrote symbols supersede numbers, and I thought that most people would agree upon this, but for some reason some people disagree. And this is not in any type of subject or teachings or whatever may be. I was just stating something that for me I found being true. Symbols superseding numbers when it comes to influence people. What do you
I
think
agree.
about that?
I think it's subjective. So yes
I
and
mean,
no. I think
how can you say that a number is not a symbol, though?
no, it is because as well a number, unlike a symbol does,
Yeah.
but a number exists in a
No,
different field
and
simultaneously.
yeah, and these perfectly packaged thought forms that hit us, and we call it inspiration. It is usually from symbols, right? I got into numbers very late. I remember getting into some of this stuff. It was a little different, but I got into numbers very late. Um, yeah, I still remember meeting Gary, and then for like 4 months, I wasn't really into that stuff. But you guys ever bond, like people like Zherka, how do first 6 months you didn't give a about numerology and then you got like super into it. Have you ever bonded over something with your dad and you realize how much as kids we ignore our parents and we don't really have any, like it's not like I play Pokemon with my dad or Dragon Ball, no video game or you know how we like ignore our parents when we're adults, and those rare moments where you bond with your dad over something, you hyperfixate on that. Like I didn't give a about numerology until my dad looks at the Sneeko stuff, me and all that, and he thinks it's all like whatever. It's just entertainment to him. But the number stuff he liked because he's like genius engineer brain. Like he memorized 1,000 people's birthdays and he likes that. So he was like shocked that I'm getting into. I've always hated math. I'm like the opposite of him. I'm not super left brain like people like to assume. Not like that. And then, we're getting into numerology stuff as like a joke, kind of like just joking around. And then, it became like a bond with my dad where, like you don't really have much to talk about. So we'll go into that. And yeah, that's why a lot of people are like, wow, you just have like this second flame into like numerology and stuff. And I feel like it's more fair if I tell you guys that this is like me and my dad thing. You know what I mean? Like there's a personal reason too. It's like, um, I don't know how much he believes in stuff like that, but he loves to show me a birthday of like some celebrity and stuff and match it with something. And because he remembers birthdays, so he helps me out with this stuff. It made it a lot easier for me. And yeah, that's why a lot of people are like, Gary couldn't convince Zerka the first few months, but then somehow he convinced him later. And it's like, no, it's more like, I don't know, out of all things, my dad was into this stuff of all things. It's like playing chess with your dad, like, or whatever, something boring. And then you kind of use that as a way to stay close to him. So, because like, I don't know if you guys have the same kind of like, Albanian parents are always trying to like pry into your life. And we're always like got our guard up, how we are as kids. And then I always feel guilty for that. But yeah, it's like strange that it's the numerology stuff that he liked. And yeah, that's why I got more into it. But I'd say like most of my calls are about law of attraction. It's not even about numbers and stuff. Although I think I'm pretty good at that number stuff. And yeah, that's why I guess because I never told anyone this, because I'm like, I don't like to like reveal this private stuff. Uh, I guess to people it looks like I'm sponsored by like some numbers titans to subvert people into numerology. And I'm like, no, there's actually a time where I just kept it to myself. And then when you have conversations with your dad about it, and now I can bring my humor into the number stuff, and he's laughing and all that, he finds it hilarious. That's when it becomes more of like an inner thing for me. And obviously anything inside that brings me that kind of amusement energy I bring to you guys. But now I realize because I never told anyone this, it kind of looks like out of the blue I just got super into it. And it's like, bro, for like I think since January, like it was just me hounding my dad with this number stuff because he'll always just be like, all right son, all right son. And then the number stuff, he like raised an eyebrow. He's like, huh, Bruce Lee was born near the dragon. I'm like, how'd you know that? And then he's like, yeah, and didn't Khabib and Connor, they're both dragons and they fought in wasn't it a dog year? And I'm like, how the hell do you know that? He's like, yeah, I looked into it, and what you and Gary talk about, it's kind of interesting. But when I look at it for like since January, I never told anyone this part. It just looks like I randomly got autistically obsessed with numbers. Because Alex, you're telling me how you're like, I don't give a about my numbers, right? I just like that I have good energy, right?
Yeah,
I,
no,
I
I'm
was
not.
I was the same as you, Alex, right? I was literally the same as you. And now I realize, like, I think a lot of people are confused of why people even contact me privately is not for numerology. I think, and which kind of pisses people off more because then they're like, oh, so what? You just saved this number for us? And it's like, yes, yes, I do. It's not, yeah, yeah, I should just, I mean, if I could just leak all my calls, you guys would be like, so let me get this straight. This is not even a business move. You're just torturing us with numbers because you're amused. And I'm like, yes, bro, yes. Bro, if I wanted to focus on the sales aspect of it, I wouldn't be coming out with this kind of course. I would focus more on just numerology stuff like that. But I don't have a numerology course. I don't have none of that. I don't even teach people the sports betting or none of that. Like this is why I say, guys, run to Gary, bro. Don't. But yeah, I was like, my brother makes fun of me because he's like, dude, the way you talk to our dad so passionately about numbers, and my dad is like anti-mystical anything. He's like the most pragmatic, agnostic guy you could meet, right? Um, but he'll get offended if you say you don't believe in God. He's like that too, so it's kind of interesting. But yeah, my brothers like making fun of me. They're like, dude, it's been months of this. Like it took you 10 years to find a hobby with your own dad. Like you ignored your dad for 10 years, and now all you guys do is numerology for hours and shit like that. And I'm like, I said to my brother, I'm like, I wonder if I should tell my community this part. Like, it's kind of private. I don't like to do that. And then my brother's like, yeah, I think your community thinks that you're like getting paid by some numbers guy to promote this. And then I said, what's worse? Imagine if they find out I'm not even getting paid. It's like actually my genuine interest. But that's why I wrote on my calendar today, like, guys, I'm going to slow down on the number stuff. I'm getting so much feedback. A lot of people are angry. And I realized I brought me and my dad's hobby into a lot of this. But yeah, like I could see how angry my brothers are getting around it because they're like, dude, it is a lot. Like, bro, you can't watch one interview without looking at someone's birthday. And I realized like I'm doing the party pooper, and even when I was annoying about it with my dad, he would just kind of tolerate it. So he would kind of let me become this numbers monster. But yeah, I realized like, holy if my brothers are getting that angry with me just talking about numerology around the dinner table, imagine my community, right? And my brother's like, it's even worse because your community thinks it's like you're praying to the number 3 every night. Like they think it, you know how they go way further with that shit. And I'm like, damn, guys, I didn't know. I really thought like if I'm in a good mood, I should bring it into spaces and go live with it. And yeah, it was one comment that me up. That comment said, um, "It doesn't feel like a Zerka community, bro. It feels like a Gary community." And I'm like, "Oh, I got to bring back regular podcasting." That's why I gave this episode today because holy, you guys are right. I'm kind of letting everyone dominate the spaces, right? It's really bad. I thought I'm having fun. Like if I thought of like when Gary told Felix, he said you should get murdered. Like what did he mean by that? But I thought me laughing in the background. I thought this is your guys' peak content, right? Like if Zerka's
Bro, I
laughing,
was getting
it's
death
pretty fun.
threats, bro. The
Yeah, I
guy
thought it's
is actually
hilarious. But I'm getting a
sending
lot,
me death threats
bro.
over numbers, bro.
Felix,
You know what I mean?
I'm getting a lot of feedback of people saying it's not like my numbers are going down. They're still listening to all of it. But could you imagine? They're signing up to listen to Zerka and they're hearing 10 other speakers. And I'm like, damn, I'm kind of really being an asshole here. Like I should go back to being, like give people what the they came here for, right? So I don't know. I thought the Aiden and Donald Trump, I thought that tweet is fine, right? Is it schizo?
No, bro, this is exactly what people want. Talking about how you can shift your mindset into better states. This is what people need, bro. And one thing that you talk about that most people go over their heads is the shame that's behind in the past, the fear that's in the past that do not unpack as a trauma for most people. That work is needed for them right now, for all of us, for the present, to enjoy it more. There's your gift box. There is your secret, bro. So
Yeah.
I think this is important. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely remind me if I'm 'cause in my head I thought I'm talking about numbers like once a week. And my brother and my, some close guys I DM with, they're like, bro, it's been like every 5 minutes, you gotta chill out. I was like, damn, I didn't even know I got that much into it. Holy shit.
You see,
Zherka,
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say, I know this is getting repetitive, and you might be sick of hearing this, but you and Sneeko have the best chemistry on the internet, and I'm not even exaggerating. But you guys have this ego where you guys try to outcompete each other. Like, you gotta stop that and just collab. Just keep collabing with Sneeko. That's all I'm asking you.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I talk to Sneeko every day, and I'm an antisocial guy. We're in the Ethan Klein war now. But yeah, I mean, to reassure you guys, Sneeko and I are not like what we were in January, February, or even last year. We're on a kind of like a 10, this is gonna sound crazy, but we're on a 10-year journey. Like we've talked about it and stuff, and I don't think you guys realize that we'll be doing content together for like 10 years straight. If you guys ever see me 2 weeks without him, it's not going to be like the olden days where it's like 2 months I disappear. No, we're going to go right into it, bang right on these topics. And same with Myron, but mostly Sneeko. I'll tell you this, man. In the next couple of years, people are always going to be like, oh, that's the Sneeko Zherka guy. Like they're going to think he's 50% of my channel because, yeah, Sneako's like what do you call a beyond a friend? Like a life coach. He's really a life coach because you know, I can get advice from big YouTubers and it's horrible advice, but if they're in the game 10, 15 years, um yeah, that guy can easily coach my content. You know what I mean? And Sneeko gives really good advice. Like he's been telling me to drop the number stuff for a while. And yeah, I just don't listen. But yeah, definitely we're gonna do a Europe trip, and I talked to Sneeko about. Well, he talked to me. This blew me away. Is I don't know if you guys heard. He's talking to me about. I don't know if I can leak this, but he's talking to me about like getting in a warehouse and doing real podcasting. And I'm like, oh hell yeah! Like those guys, Theo Vaughn and the Joe Rogans, and like actually do it. And I'm like, oh hell yeah! Like this guy's for real. And Sneako's the only one I can riff with. Like you said, we try and one up each other. It's true. We go to like we one up each other into a comedy land, like where it's a comedy special. And if we want to go by the numbers, as a dog and a tiger works real well, especially if for those who know, I got tiger in me too, right? And I'll just say this: great stuff is gonna start happening, guys. Like great stuff. Again, I have this thing where could happen. I don't care if bad shit happens to me. I'll go get whatever happens to me happens to me. I even said that. They're like, "How are you going to deal with this dragon year?" I'm like, "I'm just going to hit it head on," and I did just that. And you know, that's what happened.
Yeah, chill with the JQ. I think that's the dragon year right there. If you chill with the JQ,
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
think so. Yeah,
like I saw you post the Lucifer is our chosen people post. I was like, that's too much, and I saw you delete that quickly too. I don't know why you did that.
yeah. No,
Did you realize that?
well, I got my people saying that. Look, you can do your ADHD tweets, but you got to delete them so you don't suffocate everyone. And I said, okay, for 80% of my tweets, I'm just going to always delete them. That way I can have that ADHD moment of I posted, but it really damages engagement and stuff long term. It's not good. And Twitter's doing a lot. I think we went up like thousands and thousands of followers doing calls. So this is great. But I'll tell you this much, man. I am so stoked because after that wedding, I never have to. Like my biggest fear is not being able to go to my twin brother's wedding because some Zerka shit happened. And so after that wedding, anything, you could throw me in, you could do whatever, as long as I'm not letting down family members, I'm good to go. So that's why after that wedding, there's going to be this psychic release in my brain where I can go to a fair, turn on a vlogging camera, and start donkeys till I could go full Gideon. I could get us 10 million YouTube hits. After this wedding, I can do anything. But I've got what? I got like a week and a half before I get on that flight. That's all I gotta do. Gotta make it there, show up with a tuxedo, and just then I'm free to even travel the world with Sneeko. Like now that he loves this traveling, he's on this traveling phase, and the way his energy is so different now. He really doesn't want to stop. So if Sneeko wants to do, like he said, let's do Australia, let's do this. Yeah, I might just travel the whole world for a year straight with Sneeko. And he kind of blew me away when he said, Sneeko said this to me when I was in his house. He's like, Zherka, we've never done IRL. And I'm like, what? How the did we get so many hits together? We've never. And then I thought about it. I'm like, I've never done my bread and butter with Sneeko. Like I did 8,000 views with some Jack Doherty. Imagine with Sneeko, right? And I'm like, I've never pulled out my main weapon IRL with my main guy Sneeko. He blew me away when he said that. And then I was watching him with Arab. And I loved those streams. And I was like, huh, I've never had a camera shoved in my face in public with Sneeko. I think we've never done that. So it was like, yeah, and that's the biggest world. Like that world goes very foozy too quick. That goes to 70,000 views very quick. If you remember him and Sarah or Foozy or whatever, or even me, we go up quick in the IRL world. And I was like, holy I know that, I'm blessed that I have podcasting as my skill set because that's always going to be the highest paying one, right? Long term. But man, when I think of I can just jump back in the game and IRL with Sneeko, like Sneeko Zherka do Australia, holy, the views are going to be enormous. And that's going to be a Zherka can get arrested kind of different Zherka. Like I can do anything, man. And when I think of it like that, I'm like, oh, you guys are in literally 3 weeks when all of this is over, right? First of all, in 15 days, you're gonna see me with Sneeko in Europe and Turkey. We're gonna IRL, so you guys are getting that treat. And then after that wedding, I don't really have to go home. I don't have to. I could just start traveling the world with Sneeko on that same day. So within this month, everything's gonna start looking well, still a dragon year, so whatever comes our way comes. I don't know if I should keep playing this dragon, but you know how I feel, and yeah, it's gonna get really good for you guys. Um, but yeah, one thing you guys should remember is like I got your back, bro. I'm bringing you guys the content, and I really want to die on Earth being remembered for today's kind of content. Really, like what I did on today's spaces. That's what I want to be remembered for when I die on Earth. Because I love talking about that stuff because it feels like 15 years of reading plus 15 years of real pain coming out my throat. And so it's like relatable too. And it's the only time I actually, like I avoid being sad, but I like to jog these memories if it's for a podcast's sake, because then it's going towards my goal. But yeah, I swear to God, I'll be in the next 10 years, I'll be the law of attraction guy, bigger than Dana White. Maybe not billions, but I'm saying, Dana White, I think, is the most popular guy who talks about this stuff right now. And everyone else is a phony. But yeah, let's bring some other people in.
Really quick,
Zherka, you see,
Zherka, can
Yeah.
I give you four quick rapid fire questions for the people, for the sake of the people?
Yeah, sure.
So what you said, could people expect a book from John Zherka and his life experiences and learnings?
Yeah, man. I think ultimately, this is my last year of entertainment and content, and then I'm just focusing on really big ventures. I think I'll start within a couple months too. I don't give up. I'm good at this stuff. Literature, I'm this is my game, bro. But 100%, bro, dude, we gotta have a Zherka book. We gotta have a book, 100%. And I don't want it to be no narcissistic like audio biography. Only statistics, probabilities, synchronicities, everything that led me to think like this. It should be like a weapon. You go through, 12 rules of life. No, bro, we're talking about Paracelsus. Bro, Paracelsus once said people who catch a lot of colds lie a lot. The people with a low moral backbone, they get sick faster. Now that sounds ridiculous when you're 15 or 20, but you live to 30 and you start going, huh, that is so true. And I should just footnote all this stuff and have a book of everything that has expanded my consciousness.
LDF. Good answer,
Dude,
bro.
dude,
Wait, bro. Let me finish the questions. Next question: which subject do you dive in the dzerkaofficial.com for people that are still not in?
Yeah, it's always going to be esoteric and dating. I know it sounds like black and white, but it's really not. Like if if you understand what I'm doing with manipulation, yes, there's yeah, they go hand in hand, like 100%. A lot of guys who are not into the dating stuff, you guys can see it at that part as entertainment, but that's the number one question I get is like, dude, how do I just get the esoteric? And listen, I would be a bad businessman if you could do that. You know what I mean?
Uh,
I, yeah.
we know that you have a twin brother that is a psychologist and he's also in the server, right? But how would that look like in the server for people that don't know?
Yeah, so we have I guess you call it podcast, but you don't call it a podcast. We call it a call where we directly talk to um, people who buy the twin package. And it's basically you get all your questions answered. It's not like we read one question and then you're done for that day. You get all, sometimes we get the same guy spam 10 and everyone else is like pissed at him. But yeah, you pretty much have a call with us and you can go, these are like essay longs, paragraphs, essay long questions. And most of them are, a lot of them are business guys who talk about, let's say a dad problem or a mom, like they never resolved it with their mom or dad. And then they'll get my, I guess I'm not a Jungian analyst, but I give that perspective. I'll just say the mystical perspective, right, of my hunch. And my hunch is what brought me all the way here. And then the practical advice, which is my, certified, genius brother who has a master's degree. And so you get the real world advice with my energy of kicking your butt with that energy and getting your wheels going. And a lot of times, I think for most stuff, me and my brother align on a lot of stuff. It's just my brother doesn't like some of my answers where I just, if I give you a just do it answer, he doesn't like that. But yeah, so for guys who like, the Zherka podcast where I'm just a sober guy being a genius, my brother is the reason I talk like this when I'm not being a caveman, right? So if you want just that content, twin package, I recommend that. Yeah.
Beautiful. And last question: will people see Nef and Nef plus Zerka after hours with girls still this year? Is it a possibility?
Yeah, I think it's a possibility. I think I should definitely do the Sneeko traveling the world stuff first. But like, let me just say it like this, guys. I want to spend a bunch of time in Miami. We're definitely going to be around the girls and stuff. I think Fresh was trying to get me into it that day. He didn't have Myron. And, I had to leave that week. But yeah, 100%. The reason why I didn't do it when I was there, I only did like one, that balloon show or whatever, is because I didn't want to have a long conversation with Myron or Fresh. I said, hey guys, I'm being canceled. I don't want to do that thing where girls ask me about it on the show. I want, because I know I'm innocent, just wait it out, wait it out. And they're like, no, like they want to be real friends about it. And I'm like, no, no, let's just wait. And eventually, they had me on, but I was like, guys, I gotta go. And now that it all blew over, now that I'm like proven all innocent and shit, now it's a lot easier because I don't get to stain. I don't have to go to sleep negative, thinking like, oh, I'm staining their legacy with them having me on mid cancellation. Especially like a character like me that jokes about stuff like that. That would be the worst homie shit to do is to go on their show. Um, but yeah, they're like, I'm telling you, Fresh and Myron, these people are like brothers, man. They're really good to me.
So, Zerka, you see the stuff you were talking about earlier in regard to like the quantum field and stuff. Um, you see with like the enemy year, how, in your opinion, like how much of the whole idea of the enemy year is supposed to be so bad? It is like a psychic projection into the quantum.
Yeah, I think that people who worry are having enemy years every year of their life, really.
Yeah, it's interesting because like in regard to the quantum stuff, it's so true. Like even even when we first got in communication, I can't explain it beyond. I just knew that it was gonna go that way. Like something in me was just telling me like it's gonna go that way. But in terms of like astrology and stuff, there's a very interesting Vedic concept. And obviously, you're familiar with the North and South Node, Rahu and Ketu. Like think of this kind of as an analogy. Like the Vedics basically said that what stops any astrologer's prediction from coming correct is Ketu, the South Node. And the idea behind it is essentially an astrologer can make a prediction in time. He's going to try and predict what time is going to unfold to him. But essentially, the quantum field has the ability to completely reject what he's trying to cement in the timeline. And from that, yeah, the prediction can basically come in. It's very interesting when you see like people try to make predictions using this stuff. Like it can be as simple as a sports bet, and it just fails. It just fails and it fails. It's like how can some people be so consistently wrong? How can they not and the at least the best answer that I have for that is the quantum. It has to be the quantum. It has to be the fact that time does not work in the way that people think it's just linear. But yeah, that's just some food for thought.
Yeah, it's not linear, it's a spiral back and
Yeah.
forth.
Yeah, I
But
think I think
hold on.
Jung said it best when he's like, the brain doesn't go back and forth between what's right and wrong. It goes back and forth between sense and nonsense. And when you grasp that quote, you go, "Oh, damn." Every time I think life is supposed to make sense, it gives me a curveball. But no, you're supposed to embrace the nonsense,
Bro,
right?
oh my god, exact Zerka, bro. All right, cool. I don't want to I'm not bringing this up for anything negative. And I don't want anyone to build a notion that I am involved with this person whatsoever. I've never met this person in my life whatsoever. It's just mad how there's a connection. So like some of you guys will know me from obviously the spaces that me and Zerka done where two occasions I debated Gary, right? But basically before that, like I got in contact with Zerka through complete chance. Like I had 0 followers. I just DM'd him and we started speaking. He could tell obviously I was knowledgeable on XYZ, right? But long story short, there was a guy I went to primary school with. Primary school, for you guys who are not in the UK, is like elementary school. So I went elementary school with a kid and he played for a professional soccer academy. And he played in the same soccer academy as HS Tiki Toki, because HS Tiki Toki used to play in one. And this kid was like best friends with him. Now, this kid in elementary school wasn't just no random kid. He was like one of my best friends, like my top 3 best friends. I spent a lot of time around him in school. I had no idea he was friends with HS Tiki Toki. And then me,
What
of
the
all just
is this, bro?
bro, you get me? Me of all people, random account, I just
Bro,
DM
yo, does
Zerka.
anyone feel like, bro, Felix, bro? Like, I feel like, where are you going with this? I feel like you like to talk about yourself, bro. Talk
Who
about
doesn't,
the
bro?
quantum field, bro.
Nah, I'm just giving an example, bro. Like, what are the odds, yeah, that one of my best friends was
Bro,
best friends with HS Tiki Toki, and then you know how we got in contact, bro. You get what I mean? It was complete
yeah.
chance.
Now I do that free scroll and just open a random DM like a couple times a day, always, because yeah, I never want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy that like cuts out from the community. And yeah, I feel like we have a really strong community. When I say that, I mean like I can't imagine a convention I'd rather go to than like a John Con where I meet all you guys. Like that's the end goal.
Oh,
Wait, Zherka,
definitely.
I
Yeah,
just want to say something quick.
hit me.
I remember you posted a random tweet, and I replied with a clip of you and Sneaker reacting to Europa, and it was a
Oh,
clip of.
I know.
Do you remember it?
That was
Do you remember it?
it was
It was a
funny.
clip
I'm
of
like, I
you
hate
saying,
when they call us goy.
and just as when you said it, the documentary's like goy,
Yeah,
and then you tagged
yeah.
Fuentes in it too. I was like, bro, I was so flattered with it.
Because it's so funny to me, that word, bro. Like anytime, but sometimes when I'm called like a CIA psyop, they'll call me goy in the comments. And bro, there's no funnier word than GOY, bro. It's like, how did they think of that?
It's, it's like
I know the
being
timing on it was great. Yeah, it
it,
was comedic timing was perfect.
Yo, Edno, you had the question. Go ahead, bro. Floor is yours.
Zherka, I wanted to talk to you about like quantum, bro. So you know how you
I
said
love how it's like a stoner call, like quantum, bro.
I'm not a stoner. I haven't smoked in decades. Or a decade. Look, so you know how you said when you lie you get sick more?
Yeah,
It's so basically it's lying is
it kills human
it's a low vibration. It's a low vibrational activity, and basically it just dampens your
Yeah.
aura. And if your aura is
And by the way,
dampened, you're more likely
when
to.
people hear us talk about aura and stuff, and they're like, "Ah, this stuff kind of sounds." Scientifically, the human atmosphere has been proven. Just Google it. Look in the bro. If you look at the real science, you're going to get your pants. The human aura is called the human atmosphere. Look into that, bro, and look into obsidian glasses. There's a lot of stuff that you are not taught in government school. And I'll say this, man, when if you realize how much of your day you spend unconscious being pulled by these impulses every which way, you'd know you're sitting in a room with a bunch of life forces, bro. It's not just you and that.
Yes. Oh my god. You know what as well, yeah.
Yeah,
They don't even teach us about the double slit experiment. Like when I learned about the double slit experiment was
Yeah,
like
that's huge.
yeah, that was a big pivotal moment in terms of my conscious development as a mystic. Basically, they've proved this multiple times, yeah. Throughout, I think they first done it in sometime in the 1800s. I think around the middle of the 1800s. His name was Thomas
Apparently,
Young.
ancient Egyptians already knew this shit.
Yeah, everyone already knew this. Basically, right, the human eye is essentially projecting reality to the brain. All right. And the way that they proved this is they wanted to prove whether light, right, because everything is pretty much light. They wanted to prove whether light exists as wave or as particle. Particle is of course matter. So that we obviously have wave, like a sound wave. You can't see it. They wanted to learn whether light is physical or if it's wave information. And what they proved is that light exists as both wave and particle. They proved that it exists in both states simultaneously, but light presents itself as particle when the human is observing it. But when humans are not observing light, it exists as wave, which literally means that as you are walking around and just observing things, you are literally manipulating the quantum field just by looking at things. Looking at something manipulates it on a quantum level, which is just insane. Like now you understand why they do all these rituals where they need to get so many people focused at one time, like the 9/11. When you look at the 9/11, you literally have like the first thing a magician does, right, in any advanced ceremonial magic is he's gonna cast a shape. He's gonna cast a barrier, right? 9/11 literally happened with a barrier of water around it, that emotional charge on the outside. Then you literally have two towers, right? When you understand essentially that two things harmonize and create a third, which is why 11 is actually such an emotionally charged number. 11 is such an emotionally charged number because it's the friction generated between two things to produce a third thing. But nonetheless, that whole resonance was created by that exploding. It was nonetheless, going back to my original point, is that everyone was observing that as it happened. As soon as that first tower hit, yeah, I wasn't even born when this happened, but I've heard from multiple people that everyone switched on the news. Now everyone was watching. Everyone's attention in the quantum was fixated on a singular point. Like, I'm not saying this sarcastically, but do you guys understand how powerful that actually is when everyone's attention is fixated in a singular avenue? That's why sports and XYZ has been such a mechanism of like brainwash because everyone is just fixated on garbage.
Yeah, and you can even see this with, let's say, a drug addict, right? If they want to play with the field of time, which what is time? Is it just the arrow that pushes events along, or is it what some like to say? It's one damn thing after another. But what is it, right? And if you look at these guys who do drugs, why do their pupils dilate and get so big? To receive more light. But
Yeah,
what are they really receiving? More information. And if they're receiving more of this light, and time and space is one, and it's all grouped under this light, then are they affecting these energies that maybe they're not changing the clock to you or whatever. But certainly these drug addicts are aging faster because they're absorbing more light, more time on earth, more of that energy. And yeah, you really got to open your eyes and not not dilate your pupils with drugs, but realize that yeah, there's certain stuff humans take to speed along their energies on earth. And sometimes, that makes them more successful. Sometimes that, puts them into an early grave.
Melanin is actually pretty much the opposite of what you described in terms of our pupils dilating. Our brain, because basically melanin is like a storer of information, right? They literally use melanin in computer chips so that they can basically store stuff inside of it. Like melanin grabs onto light. It's kind of like how a quartz crystal versus an obsidian crystal works, right? An obsidian crystal literally grabs light information, sucks it into it, and keeps it there and transmutates it slowly into something else. That's basically what melanin does. And our brain secretes melanin, right? People think melanin is just something on our skin which creates our race, but no, everyone's brain has melanin, and this is how people are basically perceiving levels of reality in a spectrum of things. Because some people's brains are secreting more melanin, which in turn basically takes in all that light information and just stores it there. It doesn't allow it to be processed in the same faculty. It doesn't allow it to be hit in the same way. Because the more light you're basically perceiving, yeah, the essentially the more reality you're kind of perceiving.
Yeah, that's fascinating. About the eyes dilating when people take especially psychedelics and time slows down. It's wow, dude. That just unlocked a lot of different things in my head right now. I'm trying to connect a lot of dots. But so going back to what you were talking about, what's your name
Oh,
again?
Felix.
Felix. What's up, Felix? Okay, so what you were talking about the two towers making a third thing.
Yeah.
That also works with individuals, right? So when you get Zherka, who's a life path 3, mixed in with Sneeko, who's a life path 8, together, the third uh, group
Yeah, yeah.
energy is becomes an
So they've
11.
actually
So
there's
that's why
there's
they
a
become more
phenomenon, right? When you
charged.
get basically two tuning forks, like they've proven this about how two things basically cannot help but produce a third. If we study like numbers a bit deeper, I've even made a video about this on my YouTube channel. But essentially, right, when you get two tuning forks, let's say you get one at 528 hertz and one at 432 hertz, and you hit them at the same time, right? You'd think that you just only have two sounds, but funnily enough, you don't. It's a phenomenon, it's a scientific phenomenon. A third sympathetic resonance between the two things cannot help but be created. So when those two towers that third resonance, you could say, was the whole spell onto the world of everyone who was witnessing it. But yeah, like two things in literal wave information, in that frequency of sound, like it's telling us the truth. Two things are creating a third when there is no natural third thing. There's only two tuning forks. And like I said, a third frequency is produced from that. And yeah, when you have individuals, it's the same principle. Like when you isolate two individuals together, they create a dynamic. That
I think
dynamic you could say is the third.
the best way to explain this is like you'll see a group soul on a lot of UK protesters that they just start, wilding out, lashing out, and that group soul, that charge, it comes from that group being together. But to go on to what your homie was saying about Sneeko and Zerka, well, I'm actually a 30. I'm not just a 3. And so that Sneeko and I, our group energy is actually a 38, which is like Jennifer Lopez or the new leader of Hamas. A 38 is not a regular 11. Like this is the best 11 you could have. But yeah, that's definitely one way you should see it. That if you see two people synchronized together, yeah, their life path numbers have added up, and the public fucks with it, right? And remember, 11 is still a 2 in a weird way. Like you got to see it as like it could go very wrong for Sneeko and I. It could get too emotional. You know what I mean?
I'm glad you brought up UK
I
really quick, so we come back to the subject. Felix, you're from UK. Is it true that like most UK is being on the uprise with these all movements? Is it true from your perspective?
It's up north, so I live more down south, but up north, yeah, like there's a lot of going on up north, because specifically that's where the like the predominantly happening to a high extremity. And um yeah, it is quite, I don't,
How are
time will tell how far it, like, guys,
Your
stuff has been
homie put
happening.
a
It's not even
sad
a full
face.
moon yet, guys. It's not even a full moon.
Abdul,
oh my fuck.
he puts a sad face for gang. Like this guy, I can't with
No,
this man.
no, because no, bro, because I'm Muslim, bro, and they're just like,
Just say you
just
don't give
throwing
a
our name
fuck.
in the dirt, bro.
Say you don't give a fuck. Don't put a
Bro,
sad,
dude.
crying face. Jeez.
Nah, bro, because like you know how you have Zherka apologists when you do some crazy.
Yeah.
It's like whenever something goes down like a shooting or something, like we're just waiting for the release of the name, hoping it's not a Muslim, and we're like, oh, thank God, it's a white dude. That's like a big deal for us.
Yeah.
Beautiful relief,
Yeah.
beautiful relief. Let's back to the subject that you were on. You wanna continue, Abdul?
Wait, sorry, say that. Who you talking to, me or Zerka?
The Abdul, weren't you talking about
Not neither.
the the
What?
experiment, the double split?
Which experience?
Oh, double slit.
No. No, Felix is talking about that. So, Felix, if you want to go over that, I also have another science that I want to speak to you guys about, but you could go ahead first.
Oh, I mean, I can talk more about the double slit. It's just very interesting when you understand, like, pretty much what Zerka said about how when you are in that moment of like, wow, life can't get any better than this. Um, Essentially that is tying in so hand in hand with the double slit, because when you know that it's already been scientifically proven that it's like, it's not a choice, you don't have a choice but to be constantly manipulating in the quantum, right? When you are in that state and you are sending that out, which is so true, by the way. That is so, like, I can't, it's not like I can't believe, it's just amazing the way that Zerka explained it all, right? Not to glaze, but it's so incredible when, yeah, like, you can see that your action, when you really get into that, like, learning mode. When I say learning mode, when you're actually like maneuvering in your life, when you all go off this space, you all go on with your day, and you can literally see the like, those synchronicities again are the manipulations in the quantum, which all stems from the double slit. The double slit literally is a human being observing this light information. If a human being is observing the light information, or a camera, if anything is casting witness onto light information, it behaves like a particle. But when nothing is observing something, right? Let's say you just have a room, let's say you have a house, and there's no one in that house, there's no cameras, there's nothing. All of that is existing as wave information. As that may sound, all of that stuff, right, is not really real. It's not existing in particle the same way that you would. It's only when humans are actually looking at things that we are casting our witness to directly ourselves manipulate. But in that moment, when everything goes back into wave, that's essentially how things can happen behind the scenes through other types of forces, right? We obviously know that different dimensions, different realms, different sephirot, they exist, right? There's different energy kind of, let's just call them angels. We know that there's different calibers of angels, but in that moment when everything's wave, when we're not observing, that's when, again, they will come in and XYZ influence thing. They can obviously do that when we are observing, but we have like, we ourselves as individual beings in this light density, in this form of reality, we have a extremely strong pull on the magnetic, on the quantum, when we are just existing somewhere. Like, we are creating it physically, pretty much. It's all a subconscious rendering. So again, this may go over some people's head, but it's like, why do Freemasons have to do their rituals where no one is seeing it? Like, you guys have to understand why they wouldn't just do a public ritual, because they understand that if some people are looking at this, if you were there right now watching a Masonic ritual, you have no choice but to influence that Masonic ritual. It's not a question. It's not a, do I want to influence? You looking at something always influences it. And so by that, when they seclude themselves in that lodge, that's how they basically do their magic. That's how anyone does their magic. That's how any society, whether you're talking about an OTO, like, they real advanced again, it has to be in a confined area where everyone is on the same wavelength, and in that, that's how a ritual can, you know, reach a result.
Beautiful, beautiful, Felix. Yo, Zerka, what he just said made me think of. You just talked, Zerka, in the beginning, how if you start to linger into that feeling that you want, like some time to breathe, you're gonna lose it. Now you should keep it going. So, would you say for you that mastering itself, mastering the thought, would be when in your mind, in the concrete thought, you don't see the full idea, but you see the form, the structure start to lining up of that feeling. Mastering would mean you know what it is, you identify it, and you just shift it to your state that you have right now.
Yeah, I think that the safest way is, it sounds crazy, but on the biggest wins, you just pretend like they don't happen and keep going. It sounds wild, but if you don't have that emotional swing, you get weeks, if not months, of whatever great life you're still having. Um, there are people out there who, I mean, we see these people like psychopaths, but they'll have a big bonus, a big win, great life, and they just act like nothing happened. They're just kind of neutral about it. I think that's the healthiest way to go about it. Because, if you're anything like me and you start celebrating, horrific shit happens, right? And it's taken me like 10 years to learn the hard way. Like, this is the best I've ever done in my life. And, I'm not trying to make it a big hoopla. I'm just keep going with it. Which sounds kind of boring, right? But I think people who buy birthday cakes for themselves and like, surprise themselves like that, I think they're anyway.
Zerka, do you know the mythology behind Rahu and Ketu? Because it's very tied
Yeah,
in with this,
yeah, go ahead.
So so I don't study Western astrology, barely touch really on Chinese. The enemy year is a subjective thing. Not that it's not real, it is real, but it just doesn't, it's not as black and white, right? But Vedic sidereal astrology goes off of where things observably are in the sky. A lot of people don't know that about Western. Western astrology doesn't tell you where the planets actually are. It goes by mathematical points. Sidereal astrology is what shows you where things observably are in the heavens. And one of the things it places a lot of emphasis on is Rahu and Ketu, which is the north and south node, basically where the eclipses are. And if you guys have been paying attention to anything the quote unquote elites or whatever have been doing, you'll know that the eclipses are very important to them. In the ancient world, the eclipses were so important. So I'm just stating this so you guys kind of understand the magnitude of how important these points are. And essentially, the mythology is that Rahu and Ketu, the north and south node, these shadow points, they were these demons basically. It was this singular demon, but this demon wanted to be a god. He wanted to be a lot higher than what he was. And doing that, he basically attained the nectar of immortality, which is what was given to all of the good gods, deities, angels, whatever you want to call them. He attained it, but in doing so, he got his head off. And so basically, the link of Rahu with exactly what you're talking about, Zerka, is that it's this obsession that we kind of have. You obviously have looked at people's charts. You've seen how Rahu's energy behaves. It's kind of like an obsession. But that obsession is how this demon, like, he attained this such high state. He was the only demon to ever attain the nectar of immortality. And from when that happened and he had his head off, he was now an immortal just head, which is said to eat the eclipse. But then because he's got no body, the sun comes back out. That's the mythology, but he can never recover from that highest point. It's like now he has attained the immortality. What is higher than a demon attaining literal immortality? He cannot be destroyed. And so from everything there, everything is a fall down. And when you look at people's horoscopes, when you look at people's charts, like you see that Rahu energy highly embodies that. It really embodies like where people kind of feel like they have to be pulled to in their lifetime. They feel like they have to be around this area because it's like their highest type of thing. But it's often where there can be a lot of troubles because of that, because it's in that same kind of state of this high pinnacle, but you're always gonna fall kind of below that because it's never gonna satisfy what you're looking for. And funnily enough, the true kind of satisfaction that you can look at, it comes from kind of K2, because K2 is like almost what comes to you so naturally and flowing. Like K2 is what someone's really good at in their horoscope, but then they're kind of taken away from that because it just comes to them so naturally that they always want to shoot for this type of height. But K2 is the type of energy that, yeah, like it can never be kind of defeated. It's persistent. It's not looking for, wow, this great moment which you're never going to get to live again. It's something that's already been accomplished. It actually represents the idea of past lives, incarnation, that type of stuff. Whether people want to buy into that, that's another thing. But um, no, yeah, it's just very fascinating how it, because I've experienced that multiple times. Even when I flipping Zerka, when I done the debates, bro, and even in the first one, how that played out, I won't say anything more than that, but that's just so symbolic of, yeah, like it, it's mad how it works.
Yeah.
Sorry, Zach.
No, go ahead.
Uh, do you wanna do you had something to say earlier about symbols superseding numbers that I
Oh
said?
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think
So
the same thing, right?
say
Well,
that
is
again.
it, he
Like
agrees,
a number is a packed thought form. And when you see one, you see masculine.
but for
When I
most
see
people
one
in
as well though, a lot of what people don't understand is that, like, when we look at numbers, right, we want to just immediately associate it with manifested physical reality. So we want to look at it as, oh, this person born on the first is going to behave masculine. And that's fine. That's completely fine. That's completely natural. That's good. It's just then we forget that numbers also exist in different states. That's the whole point of like why this stuff could have an influence. Because when we do take levels of reality which are basically above or quote unquote above us, different to us, of a different light density, the number still exists in there, but it will obviously behave and pertain to different kind of patterns. And so additionally, like when I see one, of course, I think masculine, I think of catalyst, but I also think of completely neutral because every number is derived from one, even the feminine. Everything has to be neutral in the context of one. One, when you multiply a number by one, it's just a completely neutral reaction. It stays as it is.
so you agree. I would say this. Yes, numbers are symbols, but not all symbols are numbers. That's why I said that. But yeah, not. I never like studied astrology. I just
Oh,
see
okay,
around
yeah.
people. But when I see one, I also see unity. For example, right?
Yeah, exactly. Unity. Masculine assumes feminine. Like masculine is quite a collapse. When I say collapsed, you have to understand that the levels of reality which get higher and higher, basically closer and closer to God, they are at basically lighter densities, right? We're made of carbon. Carbon is extremely dense. It's very dense. It's condensed light, which basically is how we are existing. So when you get these other states, they're just less dense forms of light. And in regard to symbol, it's like it's interesting because a number can portray a very abstract concept, right? So, for example, I spoke about I made a tweet about 19, right, the number 19, and I explained how one of the ideas in the number 19 is an idea of spiritual war, which is why they inflicted spiritual war on us with 19, and they inflicted spiritual war, perverting a masculine with a feminine in the 19th Amendment, right? And I basically explained with 19 being the eighth prime number, and 8 is obviously 2 times 2 times 2. So there's a lot of duality in 8, which is why, not to call anyone out, but Gary decided to copy what I said about how, eights need spirituality and they need materialism, right? There's balance. You can literally see in how mathematics functions the duality inside of 8. And 19 being the eighth prime number. 19 is basically when there is holy war, right? It's the demonic and the angelic working together. And I use the symbol of the tree of life. But the thing what people don't know about the tree of life is that there's also the tree of death, which is basically like the demonic realms. You have the angelic realms and you have the demonic realms. And the lowest of basically the angelic, you can think of it like as the earthly realm. And that actually connects with the demonic. Like our realm connects with the demonic realm and the angelic realm simultaneously. And so you have 10 and you have 10, but when that one interconnects, 6, you have basically 19. So you have angelic and demonic linking together. And now if we think about like the Crusades, or even what basically like, you know, a lot of jihadists will think, or anyone who's ever been to war for something religious, they're going to war for an angelic reason. They're trying to push what they see as angelic, right? But in doing so, they have to use something demonic. So 19 is another number very much tied in with again with spiritual war of the angelic and the demonic working together as one. And again, if you look into the numbers deeper than what people are pushing and trying to sell you, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can decode. It's
Yo, Felix, I have to thank you for making remind me of something about the when you brought up Crusades. Yo, guys, um, I'm glad Zerk is doing this place because a lot of few people talk about this, and a lot of people, a lot of Christians all around the world are being persecuted. Right? It's not just a war in Israel and Gaza, and we know that the satanic agendas always attack most of them, most of the times the white Christian men. Right? So we have Nigeria where hundreds of thousands actually Christians died just the last year. In India, where Christians being persecuted, in China, churches being shut down, in North Korea, people getting tortured, executed, and so on and so on. In the Middle East, ISIS, in Africa, bro. A reminder that keep you, reminder that you have a way that some people are not fortunate to live. Be grateful. Of course, we cannot compare to them. It's not your fault that you're not there and you're here, but be grateful and praise the Lord, bro. Let's go.
funnily enough, even on the topic of spiritual war and 19, like even someone like Sam Smith, who was, you know, pushing all of that stuff, dressing up in all of them types of ways. Sam Smith was born on the 19th. Even someone like Little Dirk is born on the 19th. What is Little Dirk is obviously pushing Islam, XYZ. But what as well does Little Dirk have in common with is a correspondence with what I just said about 19 and spiritual war. Little Dirk is obviously taking a quote unquote spiritual religious path, but he was involved in one of the biggest gang wars that's ever existed. Like it's yeah, that was just a little tangent about 19. But numbers are so fascinating. Like a lot of people ask me to try to just get like basically little readings about their numbers XYZ, but a lot of the time like numbers can be used beyond they can basically be used in a symbolic sense to understand certain concepts, and when you understand those concepts it reveal it. Like I can't explain it beyond, it increases how you're perceiving reality because you're able to understand something so abstract. You know, I know Zerka's obviously done a lot with symbols in his life. I know he's studied a lot of symbols XYZ, and like Zerka, I'm sure you'll agree, like when you actually understand a number, it's kind of like actually decoding a symbol and really seeing what's there. Like there's something in the abstractness of decoding something that is not presented immediately that just changes you.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost like you see an action, a potential, and you almost see through uh, that block where it's like a child will just see one or two or three or four. Uh, for me, I like the first thing I started seeing would be one is Adam and two is Eve, but really they're temperaments, the order and the chaos, right?
100%. But I would still say symbols will always crush numbers when it comes to influencing the mind. And here's why: symbols hit you right
That's a
in
good
the
point.
feels, bro. You see art, boom, love. You see a cross, boom, now you're spiritual. Bro, they pack something, they have a pack that like the numbers cannot have the same punch. Like
Yeah,
symbols are a cultural like glue, bro. That's how societies keep together. That's why there are flags and logos and emojis. They speak to everyone. You don't need translation, bro. For most
That's
people in
actually a
the
really
world,
good point.
yeah, because for most people in the world, they don't see the seven like you do. Most people, they might see James Bond 007 or 420 smoking a, so you need to give them a context. You need to create a story for the one or the two or the three. And bro, about history, bro, many symbols drenched in it, like the yin and yang. You see the ancient Egyptian hug and tons of layers of meaning behind it. So our brains are wired for visuals, and symbols hit you faster and harder than a number. It's like
yeah, yeah.
instant. That's why I say that.
Hell yeah. And that is where we'll leave it off for today.